Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, usually when we sit down to talk about optimizing human performance, whether that's cognitive load, sleep architecture, or metabolic flexibility, we are looking at, well, forward-facing data.
Mhm.
We're looking at Huberman, we're looking at the latest papers coming out of Stanford or MIT. We're generally pretty obsessed with the new, we want the latest gadget, the latest supplement, the latest study.
Right. And the assumption is that technology and biology are on this, this linear upward trajectory. If it's new, it must be better. If it's old, well, it's outdated software.
Exactly. But the stack of research you've brought to the table today, it forces us to look backward. I mean, way backward. And honestly, if I hadn't read the briefing notes for this, I probably would have dismissed this as just folklore.
I can see why.
We are talking about an event called Mahashivaratri.
I know. And on the surface, it looks like a purely cultural or religious festival. You picture the blue god, the incense, the crowded temples, the chanting. It feels religious.
Yeah.
It feels like something you observe rather than something you can actually utilize.
But the mission for this deep dive is to strip all of that away. We're going to look at the source material that claims this isn't mythology at all. It claims to be a user manual for the human nervous system.
That's it.
A specific night of the year where planetary mechanics offer a massive natural performance-enhancing event for your brain and for your consciousness.
That is the core premise. The sources we are analyzing today treat the human body strictly as a machine, a very sophisticated biological machine, but a machine nonetheless.
Okay.
And this machine exists within a larger mechanism, the solar system. And the argument is that there is a specific alignment, a specific night, where the laws of physics provide a kind of a cheat code for consciousness.
A physiological tailwind, essentially. That's a great way to put it.
Precisely. It's all about leveraging external forces to change your internal state. And it happens once a year.
So, here is the roadmap for you listening. We are going to deconstruct Mahashivaratri not as a ritual, but as a biohack. We're going to cover the astronomy of why this specific date matters, the specific rule of verticality that you literally cannot ignore, and the neurobiology of what's happening in your brain at 3:40 a.m.
And by the end of this hour, we want you to have a blueprint, a user manual. If you decide to engage with this night, you'll know exactly how to rig your own biology to take advantage of it. You'll know why you're starving yourself, why you're sitting on the floor, and what you're actually truly waiting for.
Let's start with the basics then. The when. We aren't just picking a random night in spring and deciding it's special. This is very specific.
Oh, it's non-negotiable. The timing is non-negotiable because it's based on the lunar cycle. The Gregorian calendar, the one we use for business and birthdays, is solar. It's useful, but it doesn't track these more subtle influences on the planet. Mahashivaratri falls on the 13th night and the 14th day of the lunar month, known as Magha, or sometimes Falguna. In our calendar, that usually lands sometime in February or March. But the key marker, the thing you really look for, is that it is the darkest night of that lunar cycle, immediately preceding the new moon.
Okay, so why does the darkness matter? Is this just about setting a kind of moody atmosphere? I mean, we can turn the lights off any night of the year if we want it to be dark.
It's not about the visual darkness per se, although that does play a role in sensory deprivation, which we will definitely get to. It's about the planetary surge. The sources get very, very technical here about centrifugal force.
This was the part that really surprised me. I mean, we're so used to thinking about gravity, this constant force pulling us down, compressing us. But the sources argue that on this specific night, there is a distinct upward pull.
To understand this, we have to look at the relationship between the celestial bodies. Think about the ocean. We all just accept that the moon dictates the tides, right?
Cool.
That gravitational interplay drags billions of tons of water back and forth across the globe every single day. It's a massive, undeniable force. Now, consider the human vessel. We are roughly 70% water.
We are essentially a portable vertical ocean.
Exactly. We are a self-contained body of water walking around. So on this specific night, the northern hemisphere of the planet is positioned in such a way, in relation to the sun and the moon, that it creates a unique alignment. And the physics of this alignment creates a maximized centrifugal force acting on the surface of the planet.
And just to clarify for everyone, centrifugal force is that outward force you feel when you're spinning, like being pushed against the wall of one of those gravitron rides at the fair.
Correct. It's the force that's fleeing from the center. Now, usually gravity is the dominant bully in our lives. It's compressing your spine every second you're upright. It's pulling blood into your legs. It's a downward force. It's what makes us feel heavy. But on Mahashivaratri, the planetary spin and this unique alignment provide a massive assist.
Cool.
There's a natural lift. The fluids in your body, your blood, your lymph, and crucially your cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF, are all being gently but persistently pulled upward toward the cranium.
And this brings us to what you called the rule of verticality.
Hmm.
In the notes, this was bolded, underlined, and highlighted about 10 times. It seems critical.
It is the golden rule. It's the one thing, if you take nothing else away from this deep dive, keep your spine vertical for the entire night.
So why is that geometry so critical? Why can't I just lie down and let the energy flow? It feels counterintuitive. If the planet is pulling things up, wouldn't it be easier if I'm horizontal?
Think about it like plumbing. If you are horizontal and you have this massive planetary force pushing fluids upward, where do they go? They just sort of distribute evenly, or they push toward the head in a way that creates pressure without any kind of productive flow.
It's inefficient.
It's like trying to fill a bottle that's lying on its side.
Yes.
It just sloshes around. The sources actually use the word detrimental. They imply that having that kind of pressure while horizontal can actually stress the system.
That's a strong word. Detrimental.
It can be. You're working against the design of the container, which is your body. But when you sit up, when your spine is erect, you align your pipeline with the force. You turn your spine into an antenna.
An antenna. I like that.
That upward pull then draws the cerebrospinal fluid and what the yogic sciences call prana, or subtle life energy, up the spinal column and into the higher regions of the brain. You are actively cooperating with the centrifugal force. You're working with the planet, not against it.
There's a fascinating evolutionary argument the sources make here as well, which I thought was just brilliant. They talk about the transition from animal to human being, purely a matter of the spine.
It's a very compelling point, and it bridges biology and this yogic science perfectly. If you look at pretty much the entire animal kingdom, the spine is horizontal. It's parallel to the ground. Their energy, their fluids, their nervous impulses, it all flows horizontally. This is incredibly efficient for survival, for movement, for the basic mechanics of life. But when the hominid stood up, when the spine became vertical, everything changed.
The brain changed.
The brain exploded in size. The cerebellum, the prefrontal cortex,
Right.
they just flourished. The complexity of our neural networks increased exponentially. Our ability to perceive, to think abstractly, to realize things, to have self-awareness, it is directly tied to this verticality.
So the vertical spine is the hardware that allows for the software of higher consciousness?
That's the argument. The vertical spine is the antenna that allows for it. So on Mahashivaratri, Nature's is basically giving you a free once-a-year chance to maximize that evolutionary advantage.
It's like nature is providing a tailwind for your own evolution.
That's it, exactly. You can try to run against it, or you can stand up, open your sails, and let it push your consciousness to a higher level of functioning. The planet is doing the heavy lifting for you. You just have to maintain the posture.
Okay, so we've established the physics. We have the vertical spine, we have the date. Now we have to address the terminology because it can be a barrier for people. The name is Mahashivaratri, the great night of Shiva.
Right.
And the host in me has to ask, are we praying? Because the source material is very, very adamant that this is not about devotion in the traditional sense. It's not about asking for a new car or for world peace.
It's not. And this requires us to completely redefine the word Shiva. In the context of this source material, Shiva is not a guy with a trident sitting on a mountain in the Himalayas. The word Shiva literally translates to that which is not.
That which is not. It sounds like a riddle, but the sources link this directly to modern cosmology.
They do. Think about astrophysics for a second. Scientists tell us that all of creation, the stars, the planets, the galaxies, you, me, this microphone, this table, all of it, is just a tiny smudge.
It's something like 5% of the known universe.
It's a rounding error, really. The other 95%.
A dark matter, dark energy, the empty vacuum of space.
Exactly. The void. The nothingness, the emptiness, that is what Shiva refers to here. It is the vast emptiness that holds all of creation. Creation has a beginning and an end. The void has no beginning and no end. It is the eternal lap that the entire universe sits in.
So when the sources talk about Shiva, they are talking about that boundless, dark, fundamental dimension of existence.
That's the one, not a person, a principle, a dimension.
So when we talk about this night, we are talking about engaging with that nothingness. Which brings us to the concept of Ratri, or night. Why do this at night? Why not have a great day of Shiva?
Because of how your nervous system is wired. It's purely biological. During the day, you are running on the sympathetic nervous system. The sun is out. Light is reflecting off of everything. You are in fight or flight mode, or at the very least, you're in action mode.
You're engaged with the world.
You're engaging with things, light, sound, people, tasks. It's all about creation. It's all about that which is.
Right. And night is usually when we shut down. We go unconscious.
Usually, yes. Night engages the parasympathetic system, rest and digest. The pineal gland starts pumping melatonin. The body prepares for sleep, which is a total withdrawal from the world. But the goal of Mahashivaratri is a specific physiological paradox. The sources call it wakeful death, or samadhi.
Wakeful death. That sounds intense. Explain that for us.
It is intense. Sleep is a temporary death, right?
Yeah.
You withdraw from the world, your body repairs itself, but you become unconscious. You aren't there to experience it. You don't know you're sleeping until you wake up.
You're checked out.
You're checked out. The goal here is to remain fully conscious, in fact, hyper-alert, while the body goes into that state of deep, death-like rest.
So you want the absolute stillness of sleep, but the piercing awareness of high noon.
You are trying to merge them. You want to shift your focus from the light, which represents physical things, thoughts, and distraction, to the darkness, which represents the source, the emptiness.
And the darkest night of the year helps with this.
It helps enormously because of sensory deprivation. There is less reflected sunlight from the moon. It's a natural reduction in visual noise, which helps the brain turn inward. You're essentially hacking the environment to force the brain to look at itself rather than constantly looking at the world.
Okay, let's say the listener is intrigued. They're thinking, all right, I'll give it a shot. They want to experience this wakeful death and ride this planetary upsurge. How do they prepare? Because the sources are very clear that if you just show up after a big dinner and a movie, you're going to fail miserably.
You will absolutely fail. And that brings us to the science of fueling, or rather, the science of the lack of fuel. We need to talk about fasting, or what's called upavasa.
The empty stomach rule.
It's the first law of the night.
Yeah.
You cannot have a full stomach. Digestion is practically the enemy of alertness. It's the nemesis of this whole process.
I think a lot of people have the opposite intuition, though. They think, if I have to stay awake all night, I need energy. I should eat a big meal to sustain me.
That's the carb loading fallacy, at least for this specific activity. I mean, just think about what happens after a big Thanksgiving dinner.
The coma. Postprandial somnolence. You just want to nap on the couch for 3 hours.
Exactly. Digestion is one of the most energy-intensive processes in the body. When you eat a heavy meal, a huge volume of your blood is diverted from your brain, from your limbs, to the gut to handle the massive load. Your neurological alertness plummets because all your resources are busy down south.
It's a resource allocation problem.
It is. You cannot be spiritually or intellectually peak performing when your body is grinding down a steak. It's just not possible. The sources also point to a survival mechanism here, which you see in the animal kingdom.
I mentioned hunting.
Right. Look at a tiger in the wild. If a tiger is hungry, it is hyper alert. Every sense is sharpened. It moves silently with incredible focus. It needs to catch prey. The moment it makes a kill and eats, what does it do?
It sleeps for a long time.
For a long time. Hunger sharpens the system. A full belly dulls it. So the protocol here is very strict. You stop eating before sunset on the day of the event.
So no dinner. That's the first commitment.
No dinner. And throughout the night, if you can handle it, just water. Maybe some honey lemon water if your blood sugar crashes and you feel genuinely dizzy or unwell. But the goal is to keep the blood in the brain, not in the stomach. Plus, fasting triggers autophagy.
That's the cellular cleanup process we hear about in all the longevity research.
Yes. When you stop inputting food, the body switches modes. It goes from building and storing to cleaning and repairing. Your cells start cleaning out debris, misfolded proteins, junk, waste products. A cleaner system conducts nerve impulses better. You want your biowiring to be as efficient and clean as possible for the energy surge that's coming.
Now, there was another factor in preparation that I found fascinating, though perhaps a bit harder for everyone to optimize, and that's the geography. The sources mentioned the geography of energy.
This is where it gets really, really precise. And it shows you how scientific this approach is. The sources state that this centrifugal upsurge isn't uniform across the globe. It is most potent at 11 degrees north or south of the equator.
11 degrees. Why, is that just an arbitrary number?
It's not arbitrary at all. It has to do with the tilt of the Earth and the angle of its spin. At 11 degrees latitude, the magnetic and centrifugal forces of the planet balance in a way that pushes energy vertically without creating instability.
Okay.
If you go too far north, the magnetic pole changes the dynamic. If you're right on the equator, the spin is different. But at 11 degrees, the planet essentially acts as a perfectly tuned elevator for your energy. It's why you see major yogic centers, like the Isha Yoga Center in India, for example, built exactly at that latitude. It's not a coincidence.
But for those of us who are not at 11 degrees, I'm assuming most of our listeners aren't sitting in Trinidad or Bangalore right now. Are we just out of luck? Is it not worth doing?
No, not at all. The phenomenon is global for the Northern Hemisphere on that night. You will still feel it. It's a matter of intensity. But the sources do emphasize the importance of your immediate environment, which leads to the concept of consecration, or prana pradishta.
This concept just blew my mind. The idea that an ancient temple isn't a prayer hall, but a battery charger.
It changes your whole perspective on ancient architecture, doesn't it? The source material explains that consecration is a science. It's a process of using specific geometry, sound, and dense materials like granite or certain metals to create a contained and stable energy field.
So it's not about God lives here.
It's about energy is stored and amplified here. It's a technology.
The analogy they used was sailing. That really made it click for me.
It's perfect, isn't it? Meditation on a normal day is like rowing a boat. You can do it anywhere, in your living room, in a hotel room, but it takes your own effort. You are powering the movement.
And it's all on you.
All on you. But sitting in a consecrated space on Mahashivaratri is like raising a massive sail when a gale force wind is blowing. The space itself propels you. You just have to hold the rudder and steer. The environment does the majority of the work.
Okay, so we've got the empty stomach, we're sitting up straight, maybe we're in a consecrated space if we're lucky, or at least a quiet, clean room. Now the night begins. And often the air is filled with sound, specifically mantras. The big one is Om Namah Shivaya.
Right.
And again, we have to ask the same question. Is this a prayer? Are we asking Shiva to be nice to us, to forgive us for something?
And again, the expert sources say,
Absolutely not.
this is physics, not devotion. We have to look at mantra as a scientific key, as a tool for resonance.
How does that work? What do you mean by key?
Well, everything in the universe is vibration. We know this from quantum physics. It's not a mystical concept anymore. Your body is just a collection of atoms vibrating at a certain frequency. Your liver vibrates differently than your heart, which vibrates differently than your bones. A mantra is a scientifically arranged sequence of sounds designed to create a specific, harmonious resonance in your system.
So Namah Shivaya isn't just a random name.
It's a code. The sources break it down. The 5 syllables, Na, Ma, Shi, Va, Ya, correspond to the 5 elements in nature, the Panchabhutas: earth, water, fire, air, and space.
And our bodies are made of these same 5 elements.
Your body is a microcosm of the cosmos. It's made of these 5 elements. By chanting this specific sequence of sounds, you are systematically harmonizing the elemental composition of your own system. You are literally tuning the instrument.
Why is that tuning necessary?
Because of the surge.
Yeah.
Remember, you are about to be hit with a massive upward movement of energy from the planet. If your system is chaotic, if you're stressed, tense, chemically imbalanced, that surge will just cause agitation and restlessness.
You'll just feel anxious.
You feel incredibly anxious. You'll want to run out of the room. The mantra stabilizes the body of vibration so that it can conduct the higher voltage without blowing a fuse. It prepares the wire to handle the current.
That connects to another big concept the sources tackle, one that usually makes me, frankly, roll my eyes a little bit. Karma. And this whole idea of washing away sins. But the explanation here was surprisingly technical and logical.
It completely redefines the terms. The expert view here is that karma is simply memory. Nothing more, nothing less.
Memory. Just memory.
Not just, I remember what I had for breakfast. Memory. We're talking about layers of memory. There's genetic memory. Evolutionary memory.
Yeah.
The memory that tells your body how to build a liver and not a kidney.
Okay.
Then there's the memory that makes you react with anger when someone cuts you off in traffic because that's the pattern you learned from your father. We are, for the most part, just puppets of these past patterns. That is karma. It is the automated script that's running your life from the background.
So it's the automated software running on the hardware of our body. How does Mahashivaratri wash that away?
Think of your karmic structure, your personality, your rigid patterns, your compulsions as a hard drive. It has data written on it over lifetimes, maybe. The energy surge on this night is so intense, it's like a magnetic degausser. It literally shakes the spiritual spine.
It shakes the structure itself.
It shakes it to its core, enough to loosen the grip of those rigid patterns. The sources say it's like formatting the hard drive. You don't suddenly become a saint overnight. That's not the point. You become free.
Free from the programming.
You recover the ability to choose your response to life consciously, rather than just reacting like a biological robot based on your past software. It gives you back your free will, in a sense.
That is a powerful reframe. Sin isn't moral stain, it's just a glitch in the software. And this night is the patch.
Or the reboot.
Yeah,
A full system reboot.
the reboot. I like that. So let's get into the timeline, because this is a 12-hour marathon. It's not a sprint. We can't just wing it. The sources break the night down into 4 prahars, or 4 watches.
Yes. And if you're going to do this, you really need to pace yourself. It's an endurance event. You don't sprint a marathon, and you don't burn yourself out in the first hour of Shivaratri trying to have some mystical experience.
Walk us through it. We start at sunset, the first phase.
Prahar 1, from sunset to roughly 9:00 p.m. This is the stabilization phase. The residual heat of the day is gone, the world is quieting down, the body is naturally shifting gears.
And what's the protocol here? What should you be doing?
Preparation and settling. A shower is highly recommended, and specifically with cool or cold water if you can handle it.
Why cold? I mean, don't we want to be comfortable if we're sitting for 12 hours?
Comfort puts you to sleep. Cold water creates a beneficial shock to the cellular structure. It wakes up every nerve ending. It tells the body, pay attention. We are not going to sleep tonight. It contracts the epithelial cells.
So you're signaling the body.
You're signaling intent. You wear loose, natural fibers like cotton to let the skin breathe. You sit. You don't jump into intense, silent meditation yet. You chant. You listen to music. You settle the system. You're preparing the landing strip for what's coming.
Okay, then we hit 9:00 p.m. Prahar 2.
Now it intensifies. From 9:00 p.m. to midnight. The environment outside has settled down completely. The planetary pull begins to strengthen noticeably. This is where the rule of the vertical spine becomes absolutely strict. No slouching. If you were leaning back against a wall before, now you sit up straight, unsupported.
And this leads us right up to midnight. The sources call this specific point Sandhya.
The transition point. Generally from about 11:40 p.m. to 12:20 a.m. The sources describe this 40-minute window as a time where boundaries thin. It can be a time of high instability. If you are fearful or anxious, you might feel that intensely. It can be a little rocky.
But if you're stable.
But if you are stable, thanks to the chanting and preparation in Prahar 1, this is where you get a massive boost. It's the tipping point of the night. The energy really starts to climb.
Then we enter what you call the danger zone. Prahar 3, midnight to 3:00 a.m.
The void. This is, for most people, the hardest part of the entire night.
Why is that?
Because the mind gets profoundly bored. The dopamine circuits are exhausted. There's nothing happening. No social media, no food, no conversation, no external stimulation. Just you and the dark and the silence.
And the modern brain hates that. It's not trained for it.
The brain disguises it. It craves distraction. It craves something to happen. The challenge here is to simply sit through the boredom. The sources warn that this is where most people quit or fall asleep. But if you can sit through this death of the ego's need for entertainment, you set yourself up for the climax. You have to starve the distraction monkey to death.
Which brings us to the final act, Prahar 4, from 3:00 a.m. to sunrise.
This is the holy grail. This is the whole point of the night. This is the Brahma Muhurta.
I've heard this term before. It's usually associated with monks waking up at an ungodly hour to meditate.
It is. Specifically the time around 3:40 a.m. And the science here is absolutely fascinating. It connects directly to the pineal gland.
Tell us about the Amrit theory, the nectar of the gods.
Yogic traditions have spoken for thousands of years of a nectar, or Amrit, dripping from the brown at this specific hour, causing bliss. For centuries, this was dismissed as, a metaphor. But modern neurobiology offers a stunning parallel.
Go on.
The pineal gland is extremely light-sensitive. As the night hits its absolute darkest point and then begins that microscopic, imperceptible shift toward dawn, the gland transitions its secretions. It shifts away from producing melatonin.
And this is where we get into the chemistry of bliss.
Potentially. There is a theory, and I want to emphasize that it's a theory, but a very compelling one, that at this specific time, if the spine is erect and the person is in a deep state of alert stillness, the pineal gland produces derivatives of melatonin, possibly something called pinealine, or even endogenous DMT.
DMT, as in the spirit molecule.
Naturally produced, right inside your own brain. It's a compound that creates a state of heightened awareness, expanded consciousness, and a profound chemical sense of bliss or unity. This is why the monks wake up. They aren't just being disciplined for the sake of it. They're chasing a chemical high that nature provides for free every single day at 3:40 a.m.
That is absolutely wild. So the whole night, the fasting, the chanting, the sitting, enduring the boredom, it's all to ensure you are awake, stable, and receptive when that chemical wave hits your brain.
Exactly. If you sleep through everything else, set an alarm and wake up for this. This is the harvest. This is the window where the veil between you and everything else is at its thinnest.
Okay, so we have the timeline, but the sources also gave us a toolkit. These are what I'd call the micromechanics or the biocircuitry hacks, things you can physically do or use to stay online and enhance the experience.
These are the force multipliers. Let's start with ash, or vibhuti.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of people with gray ash on their foreheads and other places. I always just assumed it was decoration or some kind of a tribal marker.
It's actually more like circuitry design. The ash, when it's properly prepared, usually from burnt cow dung or specific sacred woods burnt in a consecrated fire, is essentially ionized carbon. It has a specific charge.
And where do you put it? It's not random, is it?
No, very specific spots. Between the eyebrows, at the Agnya chakra, at the pit of the throat, the Vishuddhi, and at the center of the chest, the Anahata.
Why those spots in particular?
These are major junction points in the energy system. They correspond with major nerve clusters. The ash acts as a sensitizer. It increases the porosity and sensitivity of the skin at those points to pick up the atmospheric changes more readily. It acts as an attractant for energy.
And there's a psychological function too, right?
Yes, it also serves a psychological function.
Right.
It reminds the body of its own mortality. Ash is the end result of all combustible matter. It signals the survival-oriented brain to chill out because we're all just dust in the end anyway.
Yeah.
It reduces the body's cravings and anxieties.
Then we have the beads, the rudraksha.
The Elaeocarpus ganitris seed. Think of this as a capacitor or a shield for your bioelectric field, a personal energy stabilizer.
A shield against what exactly?
Static. You're opening yourself up to a massive energy influx from the cosmos. That makes you more vulnerable to external noise, other people's chaotic energy, environmental stress, your own fluctuating thoughts. The Rudraksha creates a stable cocoon of energy around the wearer. It stabilizes your own biofield so you can remain neutral and receptive to what's happening on a larger scale.
The sources mentioned a cool, simple test for this, the water test.
Right. It's a traditional way to check authenticity. If you hold a genuine Rudraksha on a thread over a glass of water that is pure and energetic, it will rotate clockwise. If the water is toxic or has a negative charge, it will rotate counterclockwise. It detects polarity. It's a primitive but effective energy meter.
Speaking of water, let's talk about hydration. We're fasting, but we can drink water. But the sources are specific, saying charged water.
Copper water. Storing water in a copper vessel is key. There's the oligodynamic effect. Copper naturally kills bacteria, so the water is purer. But on an energetic level, copper is a great conductor. And water has memory. We know this from the work of people like Dr. Emoto. It absorbs vibration. If you keep water in a copper vessel in the room where you are chanting and meditating, it absorbs that vibe.
And the instruction was sip, don't chug. Why is that important?
Right. Very important.
Yeah.
You just want to keep the throat moist and the system lubricated. A moist throat helps with chanting and focus. If you chug a big glass of water, you engage the digestive system and the bladder. You'll be running to the bathroom all night, which breaks your posture and your focus. Sip to conduct energy, not to fill the stomach.
Now, this next one is purely mechanical, but it sounds absolutely crucial. The geometry of the body, how to sit. The sources got very specific about a posture called siddhasana.
This is a game changer for staying awake and keeping the energy moving up. If you just sit cross-legged, your legs might fall asleep or you'll get fidgety. Siddhasana, or the accomplished pose, uses a physical valve mechanism.
How does that work? Let's break down the anatomy for people.
For men, you take your left heel and place it firmly against the perineum. That's the soft spot between the anus and the genitals. For women, the left heel goes against the labia near the clitoral region.
That sounds potentially uncomfortable.
It definitely takes some practice to get used to. But the physiology is brilliant. By applying constant pressure to that root point, the Muladhara chakra, you are physically blocking the downward flow of energy. You are stimulating the root energy center and redirecting that energy up the spine.
It's like putting a kink in a garden hose to increase the pressure coming out the other end.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Exactly. It forces the energy upward.
Excellent.
As a bonus, it also cuts blood flow to the legs slightly, which redirects that blood volume to the trunk and the brain. It physically keeps you more alert. It's a physical lock.
And finally, a very practical issue, temperature control, the no blanket rule.
This is a tough one for many people. At 3 a.m., you'll get cold. Your metabolism has slowed down because you haven't eaten. Your body temperature will drop. You will desperately want a blanket.
But warmth equals sleep.
Warmth is a lullaby for the nervous system. You must stay slightly cool to stay alert. If you get cozy, you will be unconscious within minutes.
So what do I do if I'm genuinely shivering and can't focus?
You use a breath hack, a specific pranayama called right nostril breathing, or Surya Badana.
How do you do it?
It's simple. You use your right thumb to block your right nostril. Wait, no, sorry. You use your ring finger to block your left nostril. You inhale deeply and slowly through the right nostril. Then you close the right nostril and exhale through the left. You just repeat that cycle. Inhale right, exhale left.
What is that doing inside the body?
In the yogic system, the right nostril is connected to the Pingala Nadi, the solar channel. Breathing through it activates the sympathetic nervous system in a controlled way. It increases metabolic heat. It is literally a caffeine-free energy shot that warms you from the inside out. 10 minutes of that, and you will stop shivering, I promise. It's like turning up your internal thermostat.
That is incredible, a built-in thermostat.
The body is an incredible machine if you know where the buttons are.
So let's say we've made it through the night, we've used our ash, our copper water, we're breathing through the right nostril and we get cold. But there are mental traps. The sources have a very specific warning about visions.
Yes. This is crucial because people get this wrong all the time and get lost. Around 2 or 3 a.m., when sensory deprivation is at its peak, the brain might start to misfire.
Like the hypnagogic jerk when you're falling asleep.
Exactly. You might see lights, you might see complex geometric shapes, you might even see what you interpret as a god or an angel. You might hear voices or music.
And the instinct for most people would be to think, wow, I'm enlightened. It's happening. I'm seeing the divine.
And the source says very clearly, ignore it.
Ignore it. Ignore God.
Ignore it all.
Yeah.
Those lights are just your optic nerve firing randomly because they haven't had any real light input for hours.
Mm-hmm.
The shapes are just the brain's pattern recognition software going haywire. If you chase the pretty lights, you are just watching a movie in your own head.
Yeah.
You are distracted. You're back in the mind, back in the illusion of creation.
So what is the goal, if not that?
Stillness, silence, the void. The goal is not entertainment. The goal is to touch the dimension that is not a thing. If you're seeing a thing, no matter how divine it looks, you aren't there yet. Keep your focus on your spine. It's like a video game. The flashing lights and bonus sounds are just distractions to keep you from reaching the final level.
That requires an enormous amount of discipline.
It does, but that's the work. That's the entire point.
So bringing this all back home, why should our listeners, the coders, the engineers, the doctors, the busy parents, why should they even care about this? Why should they spend an entire night sitting on the floor starving themselves?
Because we are all running these incredibly complex machines,
Yeah.
our bodies and brains, on deeply outdated software.
The system reset analogy again.
We are running on survival instincts and karmic patterns that were written years ago, maybe generations ago. I get angry when this happens. I get anxious when that happens. I crave sugar when I'm sad. That's old code. It's buggy, it's cluttering up the hard drive and slowing down the whole system.
And Mahashivaratri is the one night for a clean install.
It's a hard reset. It is the only natural opportunity provided by the planet's mechanics to clear that cache, to defragment the drive, to clean the system, to accelerate your own evolution in a profound way.
The sources said something that was really profound. Doing in one night what might take nature years of evolution to accomplish.
That's the promise. If you align the geometry, the time, and your focus, you can jump forward in your own clarity and stability. You can drop baggage you didn't even know you were carrying.
So let's summarize the action plan for anyone out there brave enough to try this, the absolute must-dos.
Okay, 4 things. 1, fast. An empty stomach is non-negotiable. Stop eating by sunset.
Vertical spine. Keep your back straight from sunset to sunrise. No slouching, no lying down.
No screens. Protect your pineal gland from artificial light. No phone, no TV, no laptop.
Target the climax. Do whatever you have to do to be fully alert at 3:40 a.m. for the Brahma Muhurta. That's the prize.
And breathe.
And breathe.
I want to leave our listeners with one final provocative thought from the expert source that really stuck with me. It's about the idea of freedom.
Yes, this is a big one. We usually think freedom is the ability to do whatever we want. I want pizza, so I eat pizza. I want to sleep, so I sleep. I want to scroll Instagram, so I scroll. We see that as freedom.
But the source suggests that is just compulsion. It's just following the programming.
Yeah. Exactly. That's not freedom. That's slavery to your patterns. Real freedom is the ability to break the software that makes you want things. If you can sit still for 12 hours, defying your body's screams for hunger, defying your mind's demands for sleep, defying your ego's craving for boredom to end, all while the planet pulls you up, You might just find out who's actually driving the machine.
Is it your karma or is it you?
Is it you? That's the question.
That is a thought to chew on, or maybe not chew on if you're fasting.
Touché.
Thank you for diving deep with us. Remember, this isn't about belief. It's about personal experimentation. Try the mechanics, see what happens. We'll see you next time.